I want to play this from ABC in Vermont. And keep in mind, there's been no really breaking news in regards to investigative information being released by the FBI or law enforcement.
Woman in the deadly shooting of a U.S. Border Patrol agent in Vermont.
It comes on the day the remains of the fallen agent, David Chris Malin, was flown back home to Minnesota. Our Eric Shalou has been hearing from Malin's family and federal authorities on this investigation, Eric.
Yeah, Paul and Lee, inside an FBI affidavit filed in federal court in Vermont, we're learning new details from investigators about the deadly gunfire that took the life of Border Patrol agent David Chris Malin. The Minnesotan is being remembered as a dedicated public servant. Law enforcement lined the streets of Burlington, Vermont to honor fallen U.S. Border Patrol agent David Chris Malin. The 44-year-old Blue Earth, Minnesota native was fatally shot Monday afternoon south of the Canadian border. Malin's family, in a statement to 5 Eyewitness News, wrote in part, they are deeply touched at the outpouring of love and support. Our grief continues. Please continue to pray for us. On Friday, law enforcement escorted Malin's remains to the Albany, New York airport for the return flight home to Minnesota. According to an FBI affidavit, 21-year-old Teresa Youngblood from Washington has been charged in the deadly firefight with Malin and other agents. The FBI says Border Patrol stopped the car she and a German man were in on Interstate 91 in northern Vermont. Investigators allege Youngblood drew and fired a handgun towards at least one of the uniformed Border Patrol agents without warning. In the exchange, Malin was hit. Youngblood and the man in the car were also wounded. The report says the couple had been under surveillance after being spotted in town wearing black tactical gear and carrying a gun. The FBI says they found in the couple's vehicle a ballistic helmet, night vision goggles, respirators, and ammunition, along with a package of shooting range targets, some of which had been used. They also found two-way radios and about a dozen electronic devices, travel and lodging information from multiple states, and an apparent journal. The FBI investigation continues.
He died in the line of duty, serving to protect our country. We will cherish his memories and mourn his sacrifice.
Earlier this week, Minnesota State Representative Krista Knudsen, Malin's cousin, spoke on the House floor.
I am grateful for his service, and I know he was very proud of it. Our family is heartbroken.
Malin was an Air Force veteran who also served in federal law enforcement for 15 years, including time at the White House and the Pentagon. Malin's family tells me a memorial has been set for next month at Fort Snelling.
So yes, what were these people into? What were they? That's not normal contents of a car of two 21-year-olds.
No.
It's not normal to have, those multiple cell phones, apparently multiple laptops, X amount of ammunition. It's a sign of something else. We can't guess right now what the something else is. But the FBI obviously isn't releasing it because there is something to this. And it's almost been a week. Monday will be a week since this occurred. What will the FBI release? What are we going to find out about the two shooters, the one deceased German, Felix Buchholz, and the 21-year-old Teresa Youngblood from Washington State? Someone in the chat suggested she could be from Antifa. Yes, she could be from any radical group. Sure. We can't just point that out. But yes, Washington State does have a
good point.
A big contingent of Antifa followers. But there's no doubt in my mind as a former law enforcement officer that they were not up to good things. And showing what transpired after this car stop just lets us all realize that, yes, they were not up to good things, Mike.
Yeah, Bill, one of the viewers suggested maybe an act of domestic terrorism. Perhaps the police inadvertently interrupted planning that they had by following them around for a couple of days. They mentioned to the police when the police had first tried to contact them that they were looking for property in the area. If you're a police officer and you look at these two, they look like they're 18, 19, 20 years old. They're buying property in the area. There's something going on there. That doesn't even pass the straight face test. So they were planning something, and maybe they got spooked a little bit and decided to get out of Dodge And that's when they unexpectedly got pulled over, perhaps, as I'm kind of reading what's going on, unexpectedly pulled over by the police on 91. And then they decided they had to shoot it out. My guess is, if I could make a guess, is that they were planning some sort of, domestic terrorism. Maybe they were going to shoot someone, they were going to shoot up a school or something. They were going to commit an act of domestic terrorism, and I think they got interrupted. And,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Karen Cole, first of all, Karen, good to see you. Karen Cole has her own podcast, Legal Minded Friends. Wrapping a cell phone in aluminum foil effectively blocks its cellular signal by creating a Faraday cage, preventing the phone from sending or receiving radio waves. Karen, thank you for that information. Yes, and most of us wouldn't do that. So that, yes, is an indication that they were up to something nefarious. Angie, Antifa believe they are at war with the United States. Well, Angie, we haven't solidified whether or not they are part of Antifa or any other radical group, but it would seem from their behavior that they have perhaps been radicalized. So yeah, we don't know yet. So that's why we are awaiting information from the FBI, and even this report from the U.S. Attorney's Office gave us very, very little information. And so far, nothing really has come out about who the hell is Teresa Youngblood. Just saying, oh, she's from Washington, or she was from there. That doesn't really tell us much about her. And believe me, the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and local law enforcement know exactly who she is right now. Why? Can we read into the fact that they haven't released why yet? Potentially. The Thoris from the chat, at Legal Minded Friends, Karen Cole, no clue why they wrapped them up like that. They should have purchased just Faraday bags for the phone on the net. Well, that was probably the cheap way to do it, just to use tinfoil. They probably read that in the Anarchist Manual or something,
Right.
Cheap way is to get a Faraday effect on your cell phone.